good.
All right, welcome in. Special Monday edition of the Horse Racing Happy Hour. His name is Matthew DeSantis. I am Louie Rabeau. Thanks for hanging out with us. Breeders' Cup Monday. We'll have the draw tonight or this afternoon, depending on where you live on the planet. But Matthew, good day to you, sir. How is New York?
New York's actually absolutely beautiful right now. And the crazy part is I think there might be warmer weather here than at Del Mar, where the highs are going to be in the 70s this week. And it is absolutely been a fantastic fall up here in New York. Couldn't ask for better weather, but excited, obviously, for the big weekend out at Del Mar.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So one of the questions I always ask is, at a Churchill, at an Aqueduct, who are the jockeys that aren't taking the trip to Del Mar, who are not going to Breeders' Cup? Who's going to have a 5-win day on Saturday is essentially what I'm asking. Who's that guy in New York, you think?
I'll tell you, it's two of them. It's Dylan Davis and it's Kendrick Carmouche. They're going to win a lot of races on Friday and Saturday. So I have a friend of mine, Chase Sessions, who's a good guy. And Chase will regularly joke that this weekend is Kendrick Carmouche Appreciation Weekend up here in New York, because Kendrick usually stays back and just absolutely crushes and collects some really nice paychecks up here in New York.
I remember a couple years ago, I forget what the event was, but Leparoux had like a 6-win Sunday. Just because he was here, right? Yeah. Because he was here and he was doing the damn thing. So there you go. We talked to James Welsh yesterday, our friend in Glasgow, Scotland, who I think at this hour is on his way to a concert that makes me very jealous. But we will talk to Matthew today. If anyone wants to go hear that, I cannot recommend it enough. James has given us a single the last 4 years and all of them have won. And so get in. Yeah. And this one's on Juvenile Day, which is awesome. So get in on that episode. We recorded yesterday. James, just one of the very best European handicappers I know. Don't you ever, so you and I do a version of this. So obviously I'm in the media side doing radio and stuff, and you're in the promo side. Yeah. Then you meet a guy like James who just bets for a living, and you're like, I can't be that guy. I'm just not like,
you do. You meet people who just they do nothing but bet. And what's so funny is I was just actually talking to someone about this last week, and they said, are you going to be betting a lot at the Breeders' Cup? And I'll be out there covering it. And I was like, honestly, no. Like, I will be putting in a lot of wagers before the day starts, but I get so busy trying to get content, trying to get winner circle photos, trying to get stretch runs, trying to get paddock stuff, that it is a challenge for me to also bet then on top of that. So I usually just stick to, some basic bets early in the day I can fire off before the day gets started. But credit to people like James who can just do it all the time.
Yeah, no, it's his whole life for sure. JWRacing.com. I don't know why I mentioned it on this episode, but we'll do that anyway. So you are making the trip?
Yes, I'm making the trip. First time ever to Del Mar. Second Breeders' Cup. My only other Breeders' Cup was in 2022 for Flightline. So I drove 14 straight hours from Northern Virginia to Lexington just to be able to see that, and it was definitely worth it.
So so we were there too. We had one of those. I don't know if you noticed it, but just at the finish line essentially is where the grandstand stops at Keyland.
Yes,
and there's a little grassy area next to it where they put all Radio Row. So it's like. It was literally, oh man, Doug Gottlieb, us, and then one other show, and I can't remember what it was. That Saturday, you remember this, how windy it was.
Yes, very.
Incredibly windy. And I think people don't know from that day, they listed that track as fast, but they had to put so much water on it to stop it from just becoming a dust bowl.
Yes.
I think it might have been good technically, whatever. I get why they listed it as fast, but I think all those times, if you go back and look, they're not. I mean, Flightline ran like a 201. He did not run a 201 race. I think it was purely surface.
Right. No, that was one of the more dazzling performances. And I'm glad I made the trip, because I thought to myself,
that was worth it.
I don't want to be that guy who had a chance to see Secretariat and then was like, I don't feel like it. And then it was like, no, we're not missing out on a generational talent.
No, that's right. Well, let's get into it, man. You have some promo stuff up right now that you've been doing essentially similar to this kind of work. Where can people find that?
Yeah, obviously you can find all of our stuff up on NYRA Bets. When you go to the YouTube channel that we have, NYRA Bets YouTube, or if you just go to X at NYRA Bets, you can follow me on Twitter at Fail to Menace as well to get all of that content. But we have Breeders' Cup previews. We have horse by horse contender spotlight videos. We have trainer analysis videos as well, trying to get you ready for, the biggest barns and who they're bringing and the top contenders. We'll have some content obviously around the draw today. And then we'll also have a lot of content later in the week in terms of picks and selections and things like that.
Nice. All right. So Matthew DeSantis with us. I'll ask you the horse racing question just to get started. I am of the opinion that the Breeders' Cup Classic being earlier in the day, being the start of the late pick 5, is good for horse racing because it puts it on a channel where it leads into college football. It leads into something that millions of people are going to be watching anyway. You may as well showcase the sport in front of those people as well. Do you agree with me, Matthew, or do you think this is something like, nah, let's stick with who we are and go ahead and go at the end of the day, even if it's on CNBC or Peacock?
Well, I'm okay with it being where it is. And by the way, anybody who knows horse racing knows that the end of the day is usually a $40,000 maiden claimer. So, ultimately, there's always a final race after the big race. And that always cracks me up. And so, no, I agree with you. When it's out on the West Coast, this structure just makes a lot more sense because otherwise you're competing with college football. You're just also competing for people who at 8:00 at night on a Saturday are, 7:00 are not going to be interested or they're doing other things. So to put it in the middle of the day from a wagering standpoint, it's still obviously part of the pick 5. So that's not changing anything, just changes the dynamics about where it is. But you want as many eyeballs on the sport as possible for the biggest race in the sport. Having it earlier in the day, I don't have any problem with that at all.
7 dirt races this weekend. What was your visceral reaction when you found out Idiomatic wasn't going to run?
Disappointment. I mean, it was really, I just was really bummed because that was going to be the showdown between her and Torpedo Anna. And, from a betting standpoint, it now makes that race, you have to single or you have to kind of toss Torpedo Anna entirely and then use a horse, maybe like an Awesome Result or Raging Sea, the Japanese horse or the Chad Brown horse to potentially beat her. But it just becomes a less interesting early part of the day, unfortunately, with her scratching. And that was going to be such a showdown. I was so excited for it. So very disappointed, but I'm glad on a certain level that she was able to go out on top with a huge effort in the Spinster as her final race.
When we talked about it yesterday with James, all I said to start the conversation was she owes us nothing. I mean, she ran all the time.
Yeah.
And she was super honest in every effort. I mean, that mare owes us nothing. So God bless her. I hope she has a great career, has a bunch of great babies and all that stuff. But man, Matthew, that's one of those. Like, I honestly, like, I know people get like, oh, I drove for Flightline. I'm not gonna lie, that was a matchup that was maybe not Flightline level, but it was close for me, man.
That was the biggest. I think that was the biggest matchup probably of the weekend in terms of two horses that were so far ahead of where everybody else was. And you just go, I just want to see these two run against each other and we'll see who wins. I think there are tougher races like the mile. I think it's just an impossible race to handicap. I think the Classic is a fantastic race from a betting standpoint. So I think there are maybe better races and there would have been better races even if Idiomatic had run, but that was the premier showdown between the top two horses in the division.
7 dirt races this weekend. We start on Friday. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies is a mile and a 16th on the dirt. $2 million in the kitty here. 2-year-old fillies, of course. In this one, we see a lot of contenders, names that you and I will know. Matthew, I wanted to ask you, who do you think is the best 2-year-old you've seen in person this year on the filly side?
Ooh, that's a good question. That I've seen in person. I was really.
You saw Immersive this year when she ran in the.
I saw Immersive up in Saratoga, and Sarah, she looks really good, and that was a miserable day of weather when she won the spin away, and the fact that she came from off the pace, dealing with that sort of slop, kickback, and track conditions, showed just so much ability, and then to back it up by winning the Alcibiades, obviously next time out, just so impressive. I will say, Scottish Lassie. Last time out for Jorge Abreu, winning the Frizette. That was a great effort. And that was an effort where I was just so incredibly impressed by the way she was able to draw off and win that race. And more importantly, the way that she just looks so strong coming down to the wire. And, obviously she'll have to go and try 2 turns now for the first time. That Frizette was a 1-turn mile. So there are some questions there, but McKinsey's been a really good sire, and that's her sire, good first crop sire. I think she's a really dominant potential filly here. Has the best speed figure from her last race as a 90. And I'll be honest that when she crossed the wire, I didn't think she was going to stop until she maybe got to Del Mar. I mean, she looked that strong and she was that dominant in that effort, drawing off and winning by 9. So I think she's one you got to really take seriously here. But she and Immersive are very good. And I will say I've not seen this horse in person, but Bob Baffert's non-compliant is no joke. That's a very, very good horse. And you got to take any horse that Bob sends out very seriously on Juvenile Friday.
Yeah, I don't see him going over in back-to-back Southern California Breeders' Cups.
Right.
For sure. At some point, he's going to pick up one of these races. I've never quite seen a scene where a guy like Bob is so upset and so visibly angry how he left Santa Anita last year on Saturday. Yeah. It was different. And so I think the Classic did not go how he thought. And so it will be fun to see his group this year. Man, I'll tell you what, American Bikini is legit. And that small stretch out that she's going to have to do here, I don't think will be an issue. It's amazing to me, Matthew. I was thinking about this yesterday when we were talking to James about turf races, especially where so often we see European horses come over and their longest runs on turf, for example, are at 7 furlongs, and they get here and the mile is just like not a challenge. So it's pretty incredible to see. I expect from American Bikini a big effort as well. They're out of the Takashi barn as well. All right, so let's move on. Race 9 is the Juvenile itself, $2 million in the kitty here at a mile and a 16th for open 2-year-old company. I mean, a lot of names in here that are super impressive. East Avenue is going to be very, very difficult to overlook. You've seen Chancer McPatrick now 3 times in his 3 wins over there. I think Citizen Ball on the West Coast is an underrated runner here as well. I know you had to watch it on TV, but in East Avenue, the horse Jonathan's Way that are coming out of Churchill, super impressive. But so is Chancer McPatrick. And frankly, the only thing I worry about with him is the track layout at Del Mar. He's just not going to have much of a stretch to make a late move.
That's the key. And I think the key for Chancer is to look at that last race in the Champagne, because what he did there was the exact blueprint. And I wonder how much Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt maybe talked about this ahead of time, because you made the move on the turn. That's the key. He went about 4 wide and picked off the entire field or going around the turn. And then when the horse turned for home, guess what? Only had 1 or 2 horses to track down. You can do that at Del Mar. And so if you make the earlier move around the turn, and then suddenly you can now start making up ground in that shorter stretch over the main track there, I think the horse has a really legitimate chance. And you know that there's always going to be pace in these 2-year-old races on the dirt. There's going to be plenty of that. He's going to make that run. And if he can replicate what he did in the Champagne, making that early move around the turn, then coming for home, he's sitting maybe 3rd or 4th, then I think he's in a perfect spot to really let that stride just unfurl. The other horse, I'll be honest, that I did get to actually see in debut that you mentioned is Jonathan's Way, who broke his maiden so impressively up here in Saratoga. And what made it so impressive was he kind of blew the start and then circles the field and draws off and then wins, as you know, wins the Iroquois in completely different fashion, goes straight to the front and wires him. So I love that sort of versatility out of a horse. I think you might get a little bit more of a price out of him out of those major contenders. And so he's one that I'm very interested in from a betting standpoint.
Are you, so we had Brad Cox on a couple Fridays ago on Robo & Co. And I asked him directly, are you able to extrapolate out success at Del Mar based on that shorter mile and a 16th loop? Keeneland, where the shorter stretch, and he said yes, absolutely. And so I referenced it in terms of idiomatic, right, because of her running style. Del Mar plays to her perfectly if she were able to run. Are you looking at that at all for these dirt races? Is that something that you're taking into consideration, like wanting, like you mentioned it, Chancer's going to have to be closer if he's going to win that race, because Jonathan's Way, East Avenue, they're going to be up front, man. They're just going to be part of that early pace. Are you putting that in your handicapping this weekend?
Oh, you have to. You have to. And you really need to look at horses' running styles as a result. I'm actually more bullish on a horse like Chancer than I am on Sierra Leone, who I think
agree
is
with that. Yes.
Who just takes so much longer. And you look at where Sierra Leone is when he turns for home, he's usually 7th or 8th, and about 15 wide. And so, he's just got way too much work to do, I feel like, coming from the back at Del Mar. Whereas if you have that versatility to make that move early and then kind of turn for home, and you're in at least a decent tracking position by that point, you're not giving yourself too much to do. I think you absolutely have to take that into consideration. East Avenue, though, what a horse. I think Brendan's got a really good one there. And the fact that his comments after the futurity, after the breeder's futurity, where he said the horse has been training behind other horses, the horse appears to like kickback. It's not an issue. It just, the last 2 races, it just so happened he went to the lead, but he doesn't need the lead. That sort of talk from Brendan, he's not one to just kind of blow smoke, I don't think. And so you take that pretty seriously if that horse has that sort of versatility.
He is Matthew DeSantis. I failed to menace on Twitter. Find him with NYRA Bets and all of those things. And if you're in San Diego, just grab his hat and run away. That's really what I want you to do this coming weekend. And what you'll discover is he has terrific hair. He doesn't look like this. Yeah. He's the one who wears hats and I don't, and it doesn't make any sense, but here we are. Horse racing, baby. Let's go. All right, let's move to Saturday. 5 grade 1s on the dirt there. We start with the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. This is 7 furlongs on the dirt. Is it $2 million race? What are we doing here? Yeah, $1 million, excuse me, for the sprint here. And I mean, I don't know how in love I am with this field. I am interested to see Ascilla get back to the 7 furlongs like she ran in the ballerina, excuse me. Society is going to be in here. Looks like Vava, of course, is going to make the trip. Any chance you're looking at Zeitlos like I am?
I don't know about Zeitlos. That's a horse that I feel like I'm never really on the right side of. Obviously, coming off a nice win last time out in that Thoroughbred Club of America, grade 2 down at Keeneland. And, certainly Steve Asmussen, always a trainer you got to take seriously at the Breeders' Cup. Interestingly enough, I'll give you this little tidbit. Steve Asmussen, 45% of his Breeders' Cup starters have come since Gunrunner won in 2017. That amazes me. And you understand why he gets so emotional when he talks about Gunrunner, because in many ways that horse changed a lot of things for Asmussen in terms of the trajectory of his career as a guy who's been around for decades and decades, but it took him to a whole nother level after that. And he gets a lot of these Gunrunners now. And of course, Zeitlos, though, sired by Curlin, but I just wanted to bring that up really quickly. Sure. I think Ways and Means is a pretty serious horse as a 3-year-old. I do, obviously does have a win against older company last time out, admittedly a smaller field over a sloppy track. I, like you, am very intrigued by Scylla. Bill Mott has been ice cold everywhere he's been running lately, but he got a big win yesterday at Churchill Downs with a horse, Sovereignty.
I thought I was so smart, Matthew. I was like, 5-1 maiden. People are going to avoid this horse. I'm all over this bleep. Oh, yeah. No, nothing. No,
7-5. So, you'll get nothing and you'll like it. And so it is. But Scylla, what amazed me about that was the confidence that Mott had to have had in this horse, because runs this horse out at Del Mar in the beginning of August against a dinner, and then wheels the horse back on 3 weeks rest back in Saratoga in the ballerina where she runs second, and then he has not run her since, which tells me I think he thinks she's sitting on a huge race. And I think at 7 furlongs, she could be really dangerous tracking the pace. She's got good speed. She's got all the pedigree you could possibly want to be a successful filly. And she's already got multiple graded stakes victories too. So she's got the class. Society is a horse I'll probably be playing against in some ways. I think Society is just the type of horse where when she gets the perfect trip, she's a little bit like Fierceness. Like if she gets the perfect trip, man, you think she's going to be the dominant filly sprinter out there. But whenever anything goes wrong, when somebody presses her, when she just doesn't quite get the right setup, she just kind of fails to deliver sometimes. And so I just think that she's one I'll be kind of playing against. Vava, super consistent. I mean, you really can't knock her much at all.
A reminder, though, that we did have Scylla on 3 weeks rest and traveling across the country, finished ahead of Vava in that ballerina. So
that shows you,
frankly, the paper don't lie, and frankly, that race don't lie either. This weekend, do you plan to sort of set up your bets? Are you going to try any of the turf only sequences or the dirt only sequences, or are you more of a, hey, just give me 4 races in a row?
I do like the turf sequences because I'm a giant nerd and like to watch a lot of European racing. And so and my opinion of American racing is maybe not as high as other people's in terms of American. So I've been, looking over all those Aidan O'Brien runners, all those Charlie Appleby runners that are coming over. And I love playing those turf sequences because the fields are so massive and you can get really good prices, I think, throughout.
Yes, that's also true. James, by the way, yesterday, first time ever that we've had him on, half a decade of doing these previews with him. He mentioned 3 Japanese runners on the turf.
Yeah.
This coming week.
You're serious.
That would be a really interesting
Louie,
nuance for us to have to. Oh, they're coming in all spots, man.
They're coming. I told you that leading up to the Derby. They're coming. Yep. It's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Yep. And they're going to win these biggest races. And and the fact that it's out at Del Mar now this year and next year, they're going to win some big races these next 2 years.
I think an underrated talking point about where they have the Breeders' Cup is how much they are very clearly trying to get Japanese runners to show up to these races. I think it's not even a question. And it is very clearly part of a wise plan on their part. I even made the case that the Kentucky Derby should move away from the Cheltenham path or whatever. Like I don't need turf horses from the Kentucky Derby. Give me more Japanese horses. I'll take 5 a year or whatever. Like just do it. And so
I love it.
Got 2 of the top 5 this year. I mean, it's not an accident. So and look, any other kind of stretch run for every young's probably your Derby winner. So it is what it is.
100%. I just watched that replay, and you're absolutely
right. we'll get to that race in a minute. But he's Matthew DeSantis from NYRA Bets. Breeders' Cup Discap will be the 6th race on Saturday. No idiomatic in this one, but it is still for $2 million. It is still 1 mile and an eighth. I mean, really tough to pick against Torpedo Anna, but who else stands out in this field? Awesome result, I think, comes in just absolutely spectacular form.
Yeah, she's the one who stands out the most. And I think she'll probably end up being your second choice on the betting line in all likelihood. But she's one who is undefeated, 7 for 7, coming off a grade 1 win in the Breeders' Gold Cup over there, going 1.25 miles. Hello. So she can get the distance. That's not a problem at all. And she looks really good. I mean, they've had her on the track. She looks great out at Del Mar. She's settled in beautifully. She's got a great temperament. Yutaka Taki is going to be up on the mount, who's just a legendary jockey for North American fans who might not know him. He's basically Frankie Dettori and Johnny Velasquez and, who knows, everybody else kind of rolled up into
Patrick Husbands. What's up, Patty?
But I think she's really serious. And to me, Candide is a nice horse, but she's never been the horse I think that can challenge. And you kind of saw that in the Spinster where she kind of tried to make a move on Idiomatic, and then Idiomatic was like, peace, see you later. And just like, sayonara. And so I just don't think Candide's quite fast enough for this race. I will say the other horse that, people might look to, but that I am kind of against in this regard is Raging Sea, who won the personal ensign over Idiomatic. That was a perfect pace setup for her, though. That was the day where Flo decided for some reason Idiomatic should go eyeball to eyeball with randomized. And that was maybe not the best decision. And he won the battle, but he lost the war. And ultimately, Raging Sea came up to win. But she was not particularly impressive last time out in the Beldame as a 1-9 favorite, winning it by a head. And so I just think she needs a little bit of a setup. And quite frankly, Torpedo Anna, now that Idiomatic's out, should be kind of lone speed or potentially in a very comfortable pace position in this race.
Yeah, it's hard to see who in this race is going to be able to push her on early speed, especially. Yeah. Raging Sea might be it, but I even imagine with her, it's going to be just off, right? And then you're going to have to pray that you're faster than Torpedo Anna in a short stretch, and I just don't see it. That one feels like a reach, which of course means Torpedo Anna will finish 4th, and the trifecta will pay $3 million. All right, let's move on then to the Classic. It is race 8. Arthur's Ride should be about a 3 to 5 favorite here, Matthew. I'm kidding. I just like to say things in this tone. 1.25 miles on the dirt there at Del Mar, $7 million. In the kitty for this one, grade 1, of course, 3 and up. Have fun. I think, we'll open with this.
Yeah.
I'll give you all the 3-year-olds or all the non-3-year-olds. Which group are you taking?
I'll take the 3-year-olds all day. Now this is interesting, and Fierceness might end up getting in the way of this because he might end up being your favorite by the time post time comes around. I know City of Troy is on the overseas markets is your favorite currently, but when was the last time 2 international 3-year-olds were among the top? We'll just say among the top 3 betting choices in this race? Because Forever Young and City of Troy are going to be either your top 2 or 2 of your top 3 betting choices in this race, which in my opinion is an indictment in so many ways of everything that we're doing right now in this sport to some extent with horses. I mean, because we've seen everybody and their cousin. I think while we've recorded this, 3 or 4 horses might have retired. Here we go. And so, that is something which, like I said, unfortunately can happen sometimes. So one of those things, but nevertheless, it is, it's going to be a fun race to take a look at, but I definitely like the 3-year-olds.
Of the 3-year-olds, Fierceness, City of Troy, and of course, Forever Young. I don't think it's close for me. Matthew, I trust Forever Young the most of those 3 because of surface, because of experience, because of what I did see in the Kentucky Derby. That scene was not too big for him at all. Del Mar's certainly not going to be either for him. We've seen Fierceness at his best is an oh my goodness kind of horse, for sure. City of Troy never tried the dirt before. I was talking with James yesterday, and essentially this is a stallion move, right? You got Justified's kid running well on the grass. Can you get him to run well on the dirt as well? Did you land on an actual top contender here for this race?
Listen, I'm going to go to City of Troy just because I think part of it's the story. Trying dirt for the first time, Aiden O'Brien coming over. I know some people don't even think he's still going to run, but I think he's going to run. And the key with him is going to be the start. And he's got great early speed. And we saw it in the Juddmonte International. He went straight to the lead and was able to kind of go gate the wire in that race last time out. Now, I don't think he's faster than Arthur's Ride. I don't even know if he's faster than Fierceness, but I think he's faster than Highland Falls. I think he's faster than maybe Forever Young even, because Forever Young, one of the things you have to remember is he's got those gate issues. And he had it in the Japan Dirt Classic, which was his prep race, where he stumbled out of the inside gate. Well, listen, if he does that again, that's not going to work. And so I think you have to be really careful. I think the big X factor in this race is next. I love that they're taking a shot. He has been the dominant stayer, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun to see if he can cut back and still show that early speed with Lawan Machado aboard. But he's one that I'm interested in just seeing how he ends up going, and I'm interested in seeing how he is bet, honestly, in this race. But for me, it's City of Troy, and I have just a hard time picking any of these horses coming from off the pace, considering how Del Mar plays.
All right, so let's go through really quickly in just the classic field. And I want you to tell me if you would be surprised at this win.
Yeah.
Okay, not that they can't win, or rather, if you'd be surprised. Arthur's Ride, would you be surprised?
Yes.
Here we go. I agree. City of Troy.
No.
Derma Sotogata.
No.
Yeah, because of his running style. Like especially he is so effective off of layoffs and different things. And I don't know.
We saw it last year. He didn't run for 6 months and he ran second.
I know. Ran at the Derby 6th and then shows up in the Classic 7th. Fierceness, surprised if he wins.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Forever Young, surprised if he wins.
Nope. Here we go.
Agreed. Highland Falls. That's an interesting one.
The only reason I'm going to say no is just because Flavien Prat's not riding him. If Flavien Prat rode him the way he rode in the last race, good Lord, I love that horse in that Jockey Club Gold Cup. I'd be a little bit surprised if he won this race. I just don't know if he's quite as elite as some of these other horses.
And the Cox Barn is so freaking
ridiculous.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, who knows? Meeksto, would you be surprised if the Pacific Classic winner comes flying home again? Would you be stunned? Let's go.
Just a little surprised. Just a little surprised.
Doug O'Neill just slugging light years on. Dewgate. Would you be surprised if Dewgate won? I would.
No, I actually would.
Okay.
He's in a big race, and I think he is a dangerous horse for Baffert and for people to consider, because he ran a really good race in the California Crown. That was the first race and check running overseas. Now this is back. He should be even sharper. I think he's a dangerous horse.
Next, I know you think at least has a shot, right?
Yeah, I think has a shot. But I would be surprised.
I would be surprised with the Classic.
I love it, but I'd be surprised.
Yeah, Pyrenees.
I would. That's a good horse. I wouldn't be shocked.
It is a good horse
at all. But I'd be surprised if he won.
That's the kind of horse that screws up your exacta. I actually agree, because he hits the board off frequently.
Yeah.
I told someone in that race, I said, I don't know who's going to win the Foster, but I know Kingsbarns isn't missing the board, and I know that Pyrenees isn't going to miss the board.
Yeah.
And one too, which is hilarious. But, anyways, rattle and roll.
I'd be stunned.
He just hasn't done his best run.
Because I don't know what Kenny's doing, but God bless him.
Senor Buscador would be probably the most surprising just because of his runs.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit like Pyrenees, maybe, and just like, could he run up into something? Absolutely, but I'd be shocked if he won.
Sierra Leone.
No, I actually think this is the race we want to be betting Sierra Leone, unlike the last 3 races. But there's something, I will say, there's buzz up here where I've heard from people that maybe Sierra Leone just didn't like territory, and that he didn't like the dirt up here, he didn't like the feedback, he didn't like the track. And it's notable that Chad Brown has been working him out of Belmont leading up to this race. So maybe it was the opposite. Here's this lovely territory, and he runs this race.
I can't remember a horse since I've been doing this that people made more excuses for. I can't remember. I cannot remember. Oh, he doesn't like Saratoga. Oh, okay. He's the one. Great. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just, at some point, like, what do we, at some point, he just doesn't win races. It's okay.
Right.
Like, it's okay. Mindframe also didn't pass people in the stretch. Like, this is okay. Like, at some point, I got to stop ruining my career by yelling about Sierra Leone. Skippy Longstocking. How about that? I would not be surprised. I'm not going to lie to you. Another White Barrio just bounding down the stretch. Let's go.
I'd be a little surprised if Sappy won. But listen, Skippy, we need more horses like Skippy in this sport. He's just a really honest horse who wins a lot of grade 2, grade 3 races.
Here we go. That's exactly right. Part of what has been, frankly, an interesting year on two-turn dirt races with the older horses. Tap and Trice would stun me.
I would not be as stunned. I would be surprised, but I would not be as stunned. That horse, for some reason, the running style may be an issue, but I would say he's very post-dependent. If he draws outside, I like his chance to run well. If he draws inside, he's an absolute cost, even from your deeper purpose.
Okay. And then Ushba Tesoro would not surprise me. Here we go.
He wouldn't surprise me. It's a little bit like Senior Buscador. He's a deep closer, and I worry about just the way the track plays there. Again, one who could run up into something, but I'd be a little bit surprised. I actually think he would be the least likely of the 3 Japanese.
4 wins and 5 runs last year for Ushba, 3 seconds and 3 runs this year.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's something different. Sure. All right, so let's go on to the sprint, race 10. 6 furlongs on the dirt there, $2 million, excuse me. In this one, I'll be interested to see where domestic product lands. I feel for the Brown camp because I feel like if this race were at 7 furlongs, Matthew, I think I'd be leaning on domestic product. And that was one of the few times this year. I remember they decided to run him in the Jerky. And someone was like, what are they doing? And I'm like, no, this. I think they want him to be. I think he's more of like a 1-turn mile kind of horse. I think
that's exactly what he is.
Yeah. And so the 7 furlong setup where the right trip from the right ride from Flavia Pratt made the difference there. But I do remember this is going back now before the Derby, but I talked to Tyler after he had won at Cleveland aboard Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, have you made your mind up on Derby mount between Sierra Leone and Trump? And I got to tell you, he freaking loves domestic product. So it wasn't like, oh, he's way down here, so I'm going to ride Sierra Leone. It wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
It was, no, this horse is going to be something, and I think it's a lot of them. And then the things happened with the Derby and everything else.
Yeah.
And everything else. But he's liked it for a long time. Do you give him a chance, though, at 6 furlongs? It's going to be awful tough.
6 furlongs is tough. If he goes to the mile, the 2 turns, I don't know if it's exactly what he wants to do. So I agree with you. The Crown campaign's in a rock and a hard place in that regard. I think that the sprint is wide open. Obviously, the hour or might last a couple of years. There's a lot of speed in this race with a horse like Federal Judge from Brad Cox. We mentioned how hot the Cox barn is right now. That one stepped up for the stakes, greatest stakes company for the first time in the barn, and won easily last time out of a 106 Fire. Mufasa is an interesting horse. I think I was probably going to go to the mile instead of for Ignacio Perez IV. Mulligan is the other proof reaper for that horse. That horse just ran him off the feet before go last time out. And that was pretty serious. this is a really good race. I mean, even a horse like Remake for Japan, I think is a really tough customer as well. I do think Skelly might be the one that a little bit of a toss for me. I just think Skelly's a horse that seems to always have, when we talk about excuses, it just sometimes, doesn't break as cleanly as he used to, I feel like, at one point, and kind of has some issues at the start. I also heard that did not work out particularly well yesterday out at Del Mar, so that's something to maybe keep in mind, that he was kind of outworked by his stablemate pretty obviously, and maybe has not taken to traveling out to the West Coast quite as well. And then the X Factor, I feel like, is one of the California horses, and Black the Straight No Chaser. That horse is fast. That horse is really, really fast. And if that horse breaks and draws like an outside post position, it could just be see you later. So I feel like that horse could be a little bit more of a price, because presumably you're going to see a lot of money coming in on a horse like Domestic Product if he runs, or some of the Cox and Percent runs.
Yeah, what do you make of Raging Torrent? I think easily the most talented of the California that's left, because Chosen Braun is out.
Yeah, you're right. Chosen Braun's out, and Doug O'Neill's got this one running really, really well, winning the Pat O'Brien over Chosen Braun last time out. I think obviously does seem to do best at 7 furlongs maybe, but couldn't mind the 6 furlong setup. Again, has good speed, has never won from off the pace, which is the only concern that I have there.
Sure.
Would need to kind of show a new dimension, because I don't think he's faster than a horse like Straight No Chaser.
2 for 4 lifetime at Del Mar. His 2 losses coming in grade ones, in graded stakes there, as a 2-year-old. So as a 3-year-old undefeated at Del Mar. This year, final race, man. Incredible to think the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile will be on the dirt. How about that? $1 million here. 3 and up. Good luck. That's what I say to you, Matthew DeSantis. Good luck picking a winner.
Yeah, listen. I think it's possibly really interesting in this race if he runs here. I'll also be honest with you, a horse that I might just end up kind of leveraging pretty hard on my tickets is Saudi Crown. 8 months ago, not many, and I told one people Saudi Crown is a lot to win the dirt mile. And I just thought that was exactly what he was as a horse. I thought he was a little bit like Life is Good, like a lesser version of Life is Good, maybe, of like elite at a mile, could get 9 furlongs under the right circumstances. You go back and watch that Saudi Cup. He ran his eyeballs out in that race and third that day, setting insanely fast fractions, going to that 1-turn 9 furlong setup they have over there. And then comes back and runs terribly good off the miles, clearly bounced off of that effort. And puts him in the R.A. Cowboy Jones, which is a really soft spot to kind of bring this horse back in. And he wins, but it wasn't overwhelming by any stretch. But I just wonder if this horse and just, maybe that become a lot out of that horse for a while. Needed to move back for a month now. I think could be sitting on a big race. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be supporting Seas Gray and the 9,000 owners of that horse. But, but it'll be a great story if he wins. But I think that it's going to be a challenge. And the horse that I will say that is taken very well to Del Mar, it appears, is Post Time for Brittany Russell. And that's a horse that, is an interesting horse that can come from off the pace. And if there's too much speed up front, that one could absolutely benefit.
You just did something terrible. You just did something terrible. You just made everyone listening drink. You're not allowed to mention Maryland horses on this show anymore. Where are you, John Piazzik? Where are you? Brittany
I love it.
On a Monday. I think Seize the Gray is an absolute problem in this race. I think his running style. Do you know who I think would be terrific in this race and is obviously retired? Not gonna. I think Dornick would be incredible in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah,
incredible in the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, they would have tried the Classic with him, but Saudi Crowd was supposed to run in the ACAC, but it got the Hurricane Helene came up here and sat over Churchill Downs for 3 days. They scratched out to like 3 horses or something in that race.
Right. Yeah.
But it was a foot of mud. And so there was no way to run him in that race. So I think they had a setup for him, for the Cowboy Jones and then to run in the ACAC, and it just didn't work out. And so, I think they wanted that race, but no. I'll tell you, man, who I'm I'm going to be watching, and I'm going to include a ticket as Tio said to me, because if he can run back at all, what we saw from him on that Ali Shiva, I think he could be in that next group and be right there as far as tracking and figuring it out. I just wish he weren't one for his life. I just wish he weren't, because it doesn't set up that.
Yeah, no, I mean, if he could run that Ali Shiva, we ran like a rabbit. Hold on for a second. I mean, that was an incredible effort. More than one. Japan winning in a big race with Ushba a couple years ago, winning the Saudi Cup. That effort by Tio St. Dennis showed you just how far Japan has come. That a horse that really was not very well regarded comes over and almost wins, like steals a grade 2 up on the front end against what was a nice group of horses for us. So, again, would not be shocked. This is a tough way to close out.
There you go. All right. What are your? I'm giving away money because I have my own ADW sponsor this week, but we're going to go ahead and do this anyway because I know the thing. It is so amazing because I'm sure you've learned this since you started working at NYRA Bets. People are so loyal to their ADWs.
They are.
Just like it just. But if you want to bet this weekend on NYRA Bets, what do you guys got?
Well, we do it. We have a couple of different promos. We do have a couple of 25 promos. Odds match up $100 on $25 free bet. We got a exacta boost on all of the races, both days at Del Mar as well. And here's the thing. If you're loyal to your ADW, that's cool. You can at least just go over to NYRA Bets YouTube or just go to NYRABets.com. We have a ton of great resources that are completely free for people who don't have an account with us or anything like that. So there's a ton of great resources, whether it's Del Mar track stats, whether it's a YouTube channel that kind of provides you with in-depth analysis of all of these different races, trainers, horses, etc. So there's plenty that's out there that's free for you to definitely go check out. And if you want to put a couple bucks down on NYRA Bets, great. If not, we'll still be here for you.
There you go. There you go. Well, when do you fly out? Are we what are we doing? You coming to our cigar event on Friday night? What are you doing?
Oh, I can do that. Yeah, I'm flying out Wednesday at noon. Or no, I'm getting there Wednesday at noon. I'm flying out early Wednesday morning here from New York, 9 a.m. And direct flight. Nice. Is the only way I go. I don't.
That's New York fucking. Don't do that to someone in Louisville. Don't do that. No. You don't get to come on the show.
This is my logic. It wasn't even so much like on the way there, because on the way there, like I could have 10 layovers, I'd be fine. It's on the way back. I know I'm going to be exhausted. I want to get on one plane and I want to land at home. And that's all I want to do. So I was like, direct flight. I don't care if it's 6 hours. Get me to San Diego. Get me back to New York. So, but I'll be out there Wednesday at noon. I'll be on track doing content on starting Thursday, obviously Friday, Saturday, and then coming home Sunday.
There you go. Well, I legit invite Excalibur Cigar on Friday night if you need something.
Oh, fantastic!
Our guys from Brown Foreman are coming out. Your drinks will probably be free. I mean, like it's that kind of thing. So if you're listening, come by us 8 o'clock Pacific time out there at Excalibur Cigar. You can see Matthew's beautiful hair, except that you won't because he'll have a hat on. He's Matthew DeSantis at Fail the Menace. On Twitter, he's NYRA Bets at NYRA Bets, all the things. Matthew, I appreciate you. I will see you this weekend and have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thanks, Louie. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. All right, there you go. Reminder, too, for those of you here in Louisville, we're out at BA Colonial for our annual Breeders' Cup seminar tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Totally free to get in. I'm buying the appetizers, cash bar. Free cigar if you show up, too, so make sure you get out there. BA Colonial in Colonial Gardens across from Iroquois Park here in town. But that has been the Horse Racing Happy Hour on a random Monday edition of the show. Go ahead and make sure you get locked in with us this week. Back at it tomorrow with that show live tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. We'll probably get going on the stream at about 6:30. And then Friday night, we'll be out there as well at Excalibur Cigar. Catch us 7 a.m. Pacific on Ramo & Co. on ESPN Louisville on Friday. And then 11 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. And Louie Ramo, on my way out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. BA Colonial.